So good afternoon, Anna Halm Schudel. Thank you very much for being present in this discussion. You are a Swiss photographer and you were born in Bern. Where are you right now? In which city?
Now I'm in Zurich in my studio.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here in this studio since almost 50 years, since 1973.
Oh, wow. So you've been working here for a very long time.
For a very long time, yes. So I feel very much at home here.
And your home is very close to the studio?
Yes. I live in Horgen. This is a little town on the Lake of Zurich.
Mm-hmm.
By car, it's about half an hour.
Yeah. So you drive to go to your studio then?
Yes, it's a nice ride along the lake.
Mm-hmm.
I see flowers in the gardens.
So it's already an inspiration on the way.
Yes, sometimes it is, because I see the greens and then I see the clouds. Sometimes they are gray and then I see a little bit of pink and I think, well, that's something, all these colors. Yes, sometimes it is an inspiration. Yes.
So when you arrive to your studio, then you have a lot of emerging ideas and colors in mind. And
well, usually I work in series, and then I work quite for a long time, several months, on the same project, and I don't go to the studio every day. But so
when I was wondering when and how you started to take photographs.
Well,
the very first time you started to take the very first time you took some photographs.
Well, actually, it was at my studies at the College of Art and Design in Vevey, in the French part of Switzerland. Before, I didn't do much photography. It was my father who suggested that I should become a photographer. He had bought a very expensive sheet film camera, professional camera, and he had bought 8 lenses. And he had a bad conscience because he had spent all that money. So he hid the camera under my bed. And then he did some pictures with it, but actually he abandoned quite rapidly this project. And then he suggested to me to become a photographer so I could use afterwards this expensive camera. So, as a good girl, I obeyed.
And you came to Swiss, to the French part of
Yes.
Swiss to do your study. So you've been using the camera that your father bought. Actually, you've been using it for some years.
Yes, I used it about until 20 years ago. Yes, but because afterwards I worked with digital cameras, and this was a analog camera. But we used it a lot, this camera. But for my personal work, I like to see immediately the result, and then try to do it more perfect, to my opinion. And so the digital camera was very appealing to me because you see it immediately what you do.
Mm-hmm. True. Mm-hmm. And I know that at some point at the beginning of your career, you've been working with the famous photographer René Gröbli.
Yes.
What did you learn from these periods?
Well, a lot. He was really very enthusiastic about photography, and we could also spend lots of money on wasted film, so we were not afraid to do experimental work. And I learned much more than actually in Vevey. Also to love photography, and then lots of the techniques, how to really use the camera, all the possibilities which lie inside the camera. And we processed our color films. And so we did also lots of experimental work in the laboratory. And this was mainly my part. I spent much time in the dark because with color film you have no light at all. And we were doing solarizations with films and with color films and false colors and, well, a lot.
It was a very rich period.
Yes, yes.
And as we said earlier, so you told me that on your way from your home to your studio, you're looking at flowers, and actually flowers is a very central theme in your work. And the first project you did with flowers was in 1991. What was this first experiment with flowers?
This was, I photographed myself, all these parts of my body together with a flower. At that time, I kind of felt unseen. You know, I worked together with my husband, Peter Schudel, and the clients, when they phoned, they always said, "Hello, Mrs. Schudel, can we talk to your husband?" So I felt kind of unseen, and so I decided to take pictures of myself to prove that they exist. And I took 90 pictures with Polaroid S670. And I liked very much the subtle tones and also the kind of unsharp feeling. It's flattering. I think it's flattering for a body. And then these 90 pictures, I mounted them to a montage, and it's a unique piece. And this is because it's the first thing I did really on my own. I will not separate it. It's not for sale.
You still have it at your place?
I still have it, yes.
Was it the first time that you, and the only time that you included yourself in the work, your body?
No, I did other series with myself, and even with my husband. We did commercial work, but when we had a so-called hole, no assignment for some days, we did always our personal work, and there we sat inside the picture, for instance, but we didn't really think about that we do a self-portrait. We were just around, you know, we were just here, so it was we who sat there. Only later on, I noticed that this is kind of also self-portrait.
And kind of performance as well.
Yes, yes.
And for example, this kind of this series that you're talking about, did you exhibit it in 1978 at the Nikon Gallery?
Yes, exactly. We took pictures of paintings. We collected a lot of paintings with very many people always in the painting. And actually we are still life photographers. I'm still life photographer. But in the paintings there are lots of people. And then we created a scene in front of the painting, which gave a very new, I don't know how to say, a new picture.
It was a very interesting way to act, actually. How did people react at that time?
Well, we exhibited at Nikon Gallery in Zurich, and at that time, actually, photography was not yet really recognized as art. And Nikon Gallery was the only place where you could see photography in an exhibition. and it was a big success, our pictures. We sold almost 80 of them. And it was also very good for our business because we got known and lots of magazines published the pictures. So this also gave us the encouragement to continue with our own photography.
You've done many projects together with your husband.
Yes, we did several projects together. Yes.
And now for almost more than 25 years, you did a lot of research on flowers. And we can see, for example, your series of faded flowers at Monica Wertheimer's gallery's booth as part of our virtual edition of Photo Basel. Can you tell me something about this particular series of flowers, these faded flowers?
Yes. As growing older, I noticed, I didn't do it on purpose, but I noticed that I am more attracted by fading withered flowers. And I love tulips because they take wild shapes. So 2 years ago, I started with a series which I call Bouquet. I will show you afterwards. Lots of tulips, you call them dead, but to me, they are just personalities. I think when they grow older, they become beautiful and they gain in dignity. And I start to love them, when I let them age for 6 weeks, 7 weeks. And then I took one picture of a bouquet with tulips. And it pleased me. I thought, yes, that's a possibility. Usually I exercise for quite a while until I decide to do a series in this. So I thought, yes, that's a possibility to continue. And I bought a lot of tulips and made a lot of bouquet, but you don't see when you buy them how they will develop. So some became real wild shapes, others just lost their petals. I could not use them. But anyway, I then did seven bouquets, and Monica Wertheimer is showing 2 of these.
Do you rearrange the bouquet, or how do you create the setting? You have the bouquet. Do you arrange the flowers?
When I put them in the vase, I arrange them, let's say, towards my eyes. Yes, not all are. But when they are dry, they are very delicate. They break. You cannot do much. When you try to arrange them, you ruin it. So I cannot use all of them because I cannot arrange them later on, and I don't know how they will develop. So I just have to do a lot and then hope that some are pleasing to me.
It's very fragile, actually.
Yes.
And I also noticed this very painterly aspect of some of your photographs. Is it something that you are playing with or looking for?
I notice it also. And also when people look at my pictures, they often ask me, now tell me, is this art, is this painting, or is this photography? And naturally it's photography, but it's true that my pictures have a painterly quality, and to me it's kind of a mystery. I don't search on purpose for this quality, but as I exercise, sometimes for months, until I decide to do a series in a certain way, probably I am only satisfied when I have found a way to achieve a painterly quality.
So you're doing a lot of experiments for each series that you do. You spend a lot of time to try experiments and then develop the exact view and way you'd like the flowers to render.
Yes, well, sometimes even when I think, now I like it, when I see the picture, I don't like it anymore, you know, it's even from the ones which I photograph some afterwards, I leave them aside.
Do you have new ideas for the coming months or new projects in mind?
Yes, I plan to take pictures of flowering meadows. And it's the first time that I will leave the studio. I'm a studio photographer. I like to control the light and the setting and everything. But now I will leave the studio and I would like to capture really the heat and the flowers which bend in the wind, which dance in the wind, and the humming insects, that you get this heat feeling. And I allow myself to use all the filters and all the techniques of Photoshops which I never allowed myself to use up to now. I use Photoshop, but mainly to retouch pictures or make them a little more brilliant, but I don't use filters. Up to now I was very strict about this, and now I feel almost guilty because I take a pleasure in using false colors, in just, well, I've never allowed it to myself. It's a new freedom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this project will be new on many levels actually. If you even go outside and then you'll have to look for the right place that you'd like to photograph. Do you know already what fields you will photograph? You've selected already a region?
Corona was a problem. Yes, I wanted to go to Wädenswil at the Versuchsanstalt. It's from the technical high school, and they have a very nice park there, but it was closed during all Corona time. So it's only open since last Monday, because I wanted to capture spring also. And this, I did search with my car, but around us the meadows they are not very flowering because they are so much fertilized.
True. So it will, the focus will be on summer flowers.
I started this project last summer, but only in the end of August. And as flowers are seasonal, there were just always the same flowers. So I wanted really to start in spring this time and to have half a year of meadows, but perhaps I have to continue next spring.
Next spring. Yeah. So Anna Schudel, you are in your atelier. Could we maybe just see a little bit of it? Can you show us what you have around you?
Yes, I take my iPad. So I put my books here. I published a book. It's called Blossom, last spring, a year ago. And there you see an overview of my flower work for the last 25 years. And then we switch to all the tulips. When Corona started, I just left my studio. I didn't go here anymore, and just left all the tulips, and they are here now since more than 3 months, like this. So I will show you now one of the bouquets. That's a wild one, yes, this one. And there is another one which I did this year. And this year I used red velvet as a background. I wanted to make them really elegant and give them kind of an antique feeling because they are old. And then Corona came and it made me feel like a funeral, all this red velvet.
So you have different backgrounds that you change according to the mood or the feelings you'd like to convey.
Yes, depending on the set, but very often I have no backgrounds, I must say. This now really is a still life, but very often there are close-ups, so or it's just white or black. There is no background. Now we go, I will to the studio here where I take the pictures. I will turn on the light. I forgot to do so before. And I show you a picture. Then when Corona came, I could not buy any more flowers. I was left with the dead.
Thank you so much for showing all this. That's very, very interesting to see your work and in what space and how you organize the flowers and so. Thank you very much.
So I'm here again.
Merci. Thank you very much for showing us all this and for this very interesting conversation. And so we're looking forward to seeing your works in the virtual booth of Galerie Wertheimer. Thank you.
Yes, and I also wanted to say that the meadows you can see at the Gallery Monika Wertheimer starting October 31st. I have an individual exhibition with her and also some of the bouquets and dried faded flowers.
Magnifique. Thank you.